Hey guys, so some damage to the F6B today from carelessness, being a little tired, didn't get much sleep last night, should have been a simple, quick job. You see it 1,000 times on YouTube, other people doing it successfully and quickly, and I wanted to give you a real life kind of a rear brake pad check / change if you were wanting to change them. And I damaged the bike, and I want to make sure I'm going to show you my stupidity and be a little vulnerable here, show you my weakness as a mechanic. So hopefully you don't make the same mistake that I did. And yeah, I just hope this helps someone out. So here we go. All right, hey, what's up YouTube? I am going to do a quick video here on a real life F6B back brake check, front brake check. I'm getting some squeal, and I don't know if everybody knows that normally those brakes, it's not like a car. When they're getting low, I don't think they have that safety squeal like your cars do. I could be wrong. Put it in a comment if I'm wrong. But I found that most of the time that squeal ends up coming from the back, not the front, the back of the brake pad not being greased down properly when it's seated. I see a lot of videos on replacing brake pads, and nobody talks about applying. I just use Vaseline myself, but you use Vaseline, grease, whatever you want to on the back of that pad to prevent that squeal happening in the future. Because when it's seated in there for some reason or another, it starts making a weird noise. My back brake's doing it right now. I'm going to get down here and show you how to check these brakes, check your brake pads. It's again, this is real life stuff here. This isn't, hey, I got a shop with a lift and all that crap. I don't, okay? So I'm on my center stand, and it's not easy, okay, to get up here and get to this caliper and do what you got to do. But I'm going to try to give you a walkthrough here and show you real life just how big of a pain this thing can be. And I might get surprised. It's been a while since I did this, so. I did it on a full dress GOLDWING. I think it's pretty much the same system though, but it was a bear getting those pads back in, especially on that rear, because you just don't have room to work. Now some people will pull off the side pipe and stuff like that, maybe to get to it a little bit easier, but it's not fun. It's cramped up under there. Now I did buy some replacement pads just in case I pull these off. Now, again, cheap dad here, okay, guys? OEMs, I was looking on eBay. You can find a couple of companies out there that will get you these pads, full OEM set, front and rear, and they're gonna charge you. And really, I don't think there's any difference between the front and rear pads. You know, they say that there is. I've heard some guy that just did a pretty good video on changing the pads, but he said that there were different parts. Not so sure about that. I could be wrong. But anyway, I'm going to put these on the rears and these on the fronts. If, again, when I pull them off here, I feel that I'm going to need them. So, again, getting squeal, and it sounds like it's basically coming from the back brake. Letting you take a look at the thickness. I don't even want to open these unless I'm definitely going to put them on. But take a look at the thickness there. I think I still have about half of that. Okay, I've got 20,000 miles on the motorcycle, and of course I know those pads none of the pads have been changed. And from what I can tell, and I'll show you in a minute on how you check that, where to go and get down underneath, I think I got about half of that left, but we're going to see. I'm going to pull them out. If they look good, I'm going to stick them right back on. I'm just going to put some grease. You apply it right here on the back of these pads, and then reseat them and see if I can still get another. Supposed to get, from everything I read, 30,000 miles out of a set of brake pads. I mean, I don't go crazy. I do that power braking where I'm using I think that's what I call it, where I'm putting power in, I'm braking the same, using my brake pedal to do slow turns and things like that and keeping the power on. But I don't do a lot of crazy stuff, you know, hammering on the brakes or whatever. So I'm hoping that I get 30,000 miles, but we're going to see. Let me get down under here and try to show you where this is at now. Again, so I approach it. You don't go on this side. You got to come in on this side to really check and get a good look at the pad. And there you can see right away, there's my where the brake pads go in, and this is the caliper that you got to pry back using a screwdriver. I hate doing that, but we're going to give it a whirl here. But right there is the pad, and I doubt you can see how much is left on. It's pretty, I mean, you got an almost view of that. But as you can see, I still think I got enough pad to get me through. So I'm feeling when I pull these off, I might put them right back on. We'll check them out. Some people just change them because they're in here. Again, if I can get another, you know, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 out, or 10,000 miles, then I'm gonna put them back on. That was the other thing I was gonna say. Those pads that I just showed you, full front and rear for $37 delivered off eBay. I did find a full set of OEMs for $118 with $5 shipping, so it's like $123 to get the OEMs. I mean, is it worth it for $80? I don't know. We'll find out. We'll see how good. These pads didn't have any reviews, but they look decent, so I'm going to go ahead and give them a shot. So I'm going to pause here for a minute, and then we're going to get going on getting a screwdriver up under that caliper and pulling that caliper back. Now, people talk about, well, they do that and put the, you know, just put the screwdriver in here and bend it back. But what they don't tell you, and the manual says to do it, is to get the covers off the brakes. Now, I don't know if they think that because of pushing the caliper up, I know that's what they probably think. You're going to be pushing fluid back up through the line, and it has to go somewhere. You don't want it leaking out. So I think I'm going to play safe on my front caliper because this has got that link brake system. So whatever you do, it affects, you know, whenever you hit the front pedal, everything gets triggered. A little bit of back, a little bit of brake. Same with this brake pedal. Now, one thing this brake pedal triggers that the front doesn't, and we talked about this before, is the anti-dive, okay? So I'm hearing it mainly, I think you still get more back brake when you press that pedal, and some is applied, but that's when I really hear the squeak when what on a normal motorcycle would be the back or the pedal brake, okay? So what I'm going to do is go ahead and play safe here, and I'm going to get a shop towel right on my front brake just in case this thing does blow and start leaking. At least I'm kind of ready for it not to drip down on the rest of the bike here. So I'm going to wrap that up a little bit just to make sure if it flows out. So, but it does say to pop that, and I think it might even say to loosen the cap on the lower. So we'll check that rag and see if it's got any fluid on it afterwards, see if it's cleaned out anywhere. So what the heck is that? Oh, just brakes stuff. Okay. So let's get back down under here. I got my screwdriver. And we're going to see about getting in here and getting this caliper pulled back here. So they say to... And you gotta just be, I'm so nervous when I start messing with rotors and stuff like that. I don't want to mess it up. So I'm getting in here oh so lightly. Try to get in here. I want to say get in there on the pad, but if I use these pads again, I don't want to damage the pad. So I'm trying to avoid the pad. That's why they say you don't really worry about it, but if I'm going to put these back on. So I'm gently, that you can, I don't know if you can see that or not, but that rotor or that caliper is coming back now. And I'm just gently doing this. I'm trying to get this round end in there, would be ideal. But I'm just slowly doing this. And I might get on the other side
and push it in too. But I think it's working pretty good here, guys. It looks like it's going back, giving me some room to get in here. It doesn't look like it's quite all the way back, but getting closer. And again, this might be, you might be relieving pressure too when you, and make this easier to push back. So I'm just holding this now to try to get that to give and get pushed in all the way. And I still see it moving a little bit. And I'm moving up the brake pad a little bit, or moving up the rotor. But because, boy, I'll tell you, if you don't get this thing pushed all the way back, it is a bear, especially if I put those new brake pads on. It was so hard to get that pad on and get it to put. Now, you see a lot of videos where people take the caliper off. You just don't need to do all that crap, guys. That's not how they do it on the service manual. This is the procedure you're supposed to use. So it looks like I'm right up against the rail there. Now I'm keeping my fingers crossed that other side looks just as good as this side. I'm gonna check it here real quick. Yeah, it looks, I'll move the camera over here so you can get a peek at it too, maybe. But it looks like, and I don't know if that you can see that or not. Let me try to. It's just so close and tight up in here. Very, very super uncomfortable. But anyway, yeah, it looks like the rotor's in on this side too. Okay, I said rotor, but of course I meant caliper. So now this is when we do want to be on this side, so good that we moved over here. This is when you pull that little cap off, okay? And then there's I believe, is it a Phillips? Let's see what that is. No, it looks like a hex screw. So let me get the hex screw kit here. Hold on one second. All right, so yeah, it is. Don't ask me the size on this. I probably should know that, but I'm just going to put this in here, and you're just going to loosen this hex bolt just a little bit, and after you break it, ooh, that thing's on there. See, real life here, guys. Not as easy as all the people make it look. Just put it in there and twist it. Doesn't happen in real life. These haven't been broken before, so that needs a little love there. Okay, there we go. And it worked. All right. So that's your best friend in some situations. So that caused that to break loose with no WD-40. And you're going to just see that, again, everybody makes this look so easy. It's not. I'm going to put some grease on the top of this pin like I've been told to do too after we get it out. Now, these brake pads are supposed to just fall out, so I've got my hand here just in case. I don't think it's going to damage too much if they fall, but let's be ready. Da, 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 da. That only takes forever. So there, it was loose. Pull the pin out, and as described, they do just fall right out. So let's try to take a good look at these pads here. And you saw that dust fall out of there. So here's your OEMs. All right, guys, so here's my theory. And see if it's right. You can tell these pads still have life left in them. Okay, you see that? And I would say close to about half the life left into them. Let's take another look at the in the package here. I just hate breaking this package out, but I really would like to let you see it a little bit better. But the new pads are about
twice the thickness as these used pad. So notice here on the pad, on the back of the pad, just a bunch of that dust, that brake dust. And this, look at my hands right now, okay? These are just filthy. So these got these metal pads on here. I've actually taken these off and reinstalled brake pads, and they probably need to be on there. So you want to take these off and use them for your next pad, but right now I'm going to leave them on because I'm going to put these pads back on and get my life out of these pads. But I'm going to clean these up. I'm going to clean the back of these up, and then I'm going to apply some of that the Vaseline grease stuff I got here, okay? And on the back of these pads, and I'm going to see if this takes that sound away. That's a good looking pad. Look at that. That's still got at least another probably 10,000 miles left on them. So we don't want to replace these, man. Why? You know? Let's get our life out, but keep an eye on those. We want to definitely make sure that that's not digging into your... and I'll wipe this off here, but you don't want these digging into your rotor. And I'm going to take some time to get, I got some brake cleaner, and we'll clean up the rotor too. Might even hit these brake pads with it too. I don't know if that's against the law. I know you don't want to get any of that grease accidentally on here. You might have some trouble stopping after that. But let's go ahead and get these cleaned up right now, and I'll be right back. Okay, so yeah, on a normal pad, you would actually, on a normal bike, okay, because I've changed, like on a my Vulcan 900, it didn't have these plates, okay? These are like Honda deals or whatever, but you don't see these on other bikes. You can tell this is the one that went up against the caliper there. So I pulled that off, and I've cleaned that up, you know, quite a bit. But normally, you won't have this back thing on there. It just seats on. So I'm not sure if the squeak on this would be coming from between here and here, or actually as it's seated on the bike, if the squeal would be coming for grease on the back. So I think I'm going to play safe. I'm going to stay away from these holes that go down into the brake pads. Again, I don't think that's going to hurt you if you got it in the holes. But I'm going to play grease, and they actually sell this in the actual grease at AutoZone. AutoZone guys will tell you to put that on the back of theirs to make sure that doesn't start squealing on you, okay? So I'm going to put a little bit back here, and I think I'm going to apply a little bit to the back of these too. Also, again, keep it on the back, not on the front. All right? Be right back. Okay, so there we go. I went ahead and I put some on the inside of these and on the outside of both of them. Okay, just a thin layer. Again, I just use pure ultra white petroleum jelly. That's always done well for me as far as this when I use it for the brakes and whatnot. So there's my brake pads ready to be reinstalled. I cleaned them up, put some brake cleaner, did the outside, didn't really get into the inside, although I think brake cleaner, that type of brake cleaner, brake clean is okay to put on the front. Again, I just don't want to clean it up or mess with those the part that hits the rotor too much. But might put a little bit more on there. So now it's time to reinstall. Okay, so I checked, and because I heard somebody say put silicone grease just on the tab of this, so it's true. That's what the manual calls for, the service manual. So we're just going to put a little grease right on the tip, not so much on the back side of that. Although I can't really see the danger. It calls for silicone grease. Okay, so all right, now again, real life stuff here. I'm going to check the pad, the one that I'm going to keep the one that was on the rotor, and that's the one that's on the rotor, and this is the one on the back. So this is where it can again get tricky. You're going to be putting a pad in. I think I'm going to put a pad in, then the pin, and then the next pad in the pin. So again, just make sure
That side's up against the rotor. And we're hoping that this seats in there nice and quick and easy, which that one did seem to slide in. I just adjusted it a little bit, and it feels like it's locked in. So we're going to go ahead and pin it. So that one's secured. And then we'll get the other side up here with my nice grease on the back, and I pray to God that takes that squeal away. And we're going to do the same thing. Pull that back a little bit to give myself some clearance to get this pad back in. Again, make sure to keep, if you put your hand on that back, make sure you don't get that grease on your rotor, because that might be a little unsafe. That one seemed to set up there pretty easily too. So, god darn, maybe this is as easy as what you see online. And there you go. So, both pads are in, and this looks like it's lining up here pretty good. So, I'm going to twist this on. And gosh darn it, I've got my Senna camera ordered. Senna, how do you say it? But I got that puppy ordered, but unfortunately, I don't have the, I'm going to get this in here. Here's my torque wrench. I don't have the, so I can't let you hear the noise, or hopefully no noise, now that I've got these in here right. So now I'm just, it's just a matter of turning this back on here. It looks like it's going on pretty easy. We'll just tighten this up and then take her out for a test run, and I'll come back and let you know if that god-awful squeal sound is gone. And if it is, may concentrate, or if it's not, then I might go to the fronts and do the same thing on the fronts. But I think this is where the sound's coming from. Of course, you know, when you're riding, you can't tell where anything's coming from. You think you know where it's coming from, and it's totally different. So that looks like it's screwing in there nice and neat. And then we'll just put this little cap back on. And that's how, you know, if you had new rotors, you would just replace them right then, guys. That's it, okay? Replace them the same way as I just checked them. Or doing this little grease on the back of the pad trick. I don't know why nobody ever talks about that, and it's not in the instructions or in the manual when you change it, and neither is it. Here's my torque. Oh, yeah, that feels good. Why don't I buy a torque wrench? I don't know, but that's the trick, and my father-in-law, who's been riding for years and years and years, said to do the same thing. Now we do want to, I'm going to take my foot up here and just ply and get these rotors back out. I'm going to get some, ply that brake. Now there's my rotor right up against the rear brake. It moved nice and neat in. So I think job done here, guys. And if you got any comments or anything, let me know. I'm going to come back on here in just a second, though, to give you an update after the ride. God, that was so easy. So the other thing I promised you we'd take a look at, though, before I take her out for a spin here, is did any of this oil back out? Now, I don't have the cover off to the rear brake, but I don't see any anything on the towel. So my guess is no oil got driven back up through there. So in the manual, again, the service manual, it says to take this off and then wrap a towel around there. So, God, about lost my phone there. Yeah, I'm not sure why it says to do that, because I think you're okay without that step. If you want to save some time there, guys. All right, come back in a second to give you an update. Okay, guys, so this is, I'm glad people get to learn from my mistake here, okay? So I wanted to show you what happened here. So I set the, and I don't know how good you're going to be able to get this view, but I put the brake pad in. It felt great, looked great, and it was not seated properly. So make sure when you And I can't, let me see if I can get you a view of that. Let me see if I'm zoomed in here. See that the pad is right there. It's hard to hold a flashlight and see it. But at the top, you can see where it's rubbing up against my the wheel, and it's actually, I think I might have damaged it a little bit. I've grinded down. If you look at that bolt right there, or rivet, the brake pad actually grinded it down. So I had this god-awful sound. I rode it just and turned around and came back and already caused some damage there. So make sure when you're done putting this brake pad in, you come around the other side and make sure, even if it feels like it's seated in there properly, you better double check and make sure, because that's a big mistake right there. So I'm gonna pop this thing back out, put it back together and put it back in, and hopefully I didn't damage too much.
Guys, so we may never know if it was just a squeal problem. I took it out and I heard a god-awful clunking and brought it back, and sure enough, the pad on this side was not seated right here, and you can tell now. I've went ahead and I replaced the pads because it really chewed up the top of the pad. I'll show you the damage it did to it. That's what happened to my pad right there. So I don't want to put that back on the bike, damn it. So look at that, all that wear left on it. I also couldn't put that plate back on because when I pulled it apart, my rotor was too, it wasn't compressed or putting on the new ones. I tell you, it's tight as hell. You better make sure you pull those calipers all the way back. In the heat of pulling them back, I wasn't able to put that plate back on. I'll keep it. But I'm sure, again, I've not put these plates on in the past and been fine on my other GOLDWING. So there we go. Real life stuff here, guys. Make sure you check and double check. I don't care if they feel like they seated properly. You better look. Do everything you can. The fronts might be a little bit easier, might be a little bit harder to see that. I like that I got the view on the back side. So make sure you walk around the back of your bike and get down underneath this side and make sure you see that seated in there properly. All right, I'm gonna take this out for a ride now and make sure that I don't get that clunk. I thought I just had to ride it out for a second because my caliper was getting readjusted to the rotor, but I had the pad on wrong, guys. So be careful out there, man.